Hello, so this is my second video that is education specific. My first video was about things in general that you could do around your school, around campus, around individual lessons, teachers, subjects, things like that. Whereas this video is going to be specifically about exam concessions, so what you can get if you ask for it when it comes to exams. Now, again, this is going to probably depend on your school area, so your county or a state if you're in America. So obviously things might be different depending on where you live and where you go to school, where you go to college and things like that. So do not presume that you will automatically get all of these, but it's definitely worth asking for these and telling them that you're aware of your rights and what is out there that can help you during exams. So to begin is the one that is most well known, and that is extra time. So this obviously varies, but normally I know in the UK it's a standard 25% extra time. So this is just extra time added on to the length of exam that you're sitting, so you have that extra time to complete your exam. So that's the first one, that's kind of the one that most people are aware of, and that is extra time. A second one is a computer. So you might be allowed access to a laptop, a computer. Again, this is going to vary on school. At college, I was allowed to type my exams rather than write, especially my long essays, so they were about 50 marks. So you're talking pages and pages of writing, which I just physically couldn't do. So I was allowed access to a computer to type things out. So you might want to ask if that's a possibility. Another possibility is a smaller room or even an individual room. So especially if your health conditions have led to a lot of exam anxiety, this is something I went through massively. You might be able to be in a smaller room, so if you might just be in with people using computers, you might be just in with people doing extra time, but there are less people in there. It feels a lot less pressure than being in the main open exam hall, and things I find are just a little bit more relaxed. Individual room is even better, so it'll be you and the invigilator, who might also do other things for you, which I will come to. So you might be able to be in a position where you're not in the main exam hall, and that can actually make more difference than you realise, so look out for that one. So another thing that you can have in an individual room, and you will have an individual room for this scenario, is if you have a scribe. So this is when, instead of you writing, you answer the questions on the paper, and the invigilator and scribe writes it for you. So they physically do the writing for you, and so all you have to do is speak, rather than worrying about the physical cost of writing it down as well. Especially if maybe it's not the physical cost, maybe it just takes you longer to write, and it's just not feasible to try and fit it all in. So a scribe is a really good idea if that's something that bothers you. You can also have a reader. So this is where they don't write for you, so that's the scribe, but the reader will come around and will read the exam paper to you, will read the questions out to you. If it's something like English and there's a massive text, they will read that to you. So if you're having cognitive issues and your word processing isn't really working, or it's a bit murky, it's easier for someone to read it to you, that could be an option. So again, that's a really helpful thing that can happen, and again, that will be in an individual room. Most of the exam vigilators that I have met, especially ones that knowingly work within the special needs department, are absolutely lovely, because they know they're going to be working with people that have challenges, and that quite often comes along with quite severe anxiety in my case, about sitting exams and being in that environment. So even though you might be worried about it being one-on-one, it's actually, in my opinion, a lot more relaxed. The other thing about having a scribe that I didn't mention is that you can change the position that you're in. So my college were really fantastic, and the way that my special education director explains it was, if you need to get up and walk around while reciting what you want written down, or if you need to lie down because of your back, so you're lying down on a couch, or you're lying on the floor, or just whatever, it's a lot easier to, while they're writing, you can kind of physically do what you need to do. That's another massive benefit of having a scribe, especially if sitting in one place for 2.5 hours just isn't feasible for you. Again, if being in that position for a long period of time is a struggle, but you don't necessarily need a scribe, then you can get extra or extended breaks. So they will officially stop the time and then restart the time at the end of the break. Obviously you can't just wander off and I'm going to go shopping or whatever. So you will probably still be in an examination zone, so you will still be with the invigilator. But it just means that you can stop, have that break, get up, kind of do what you need to do. And again, this could include food and medicine. So you can get permission so that in the exam you can take food and you can take your medication. So either you take that during a extended or extra break that you've asked for, or it's a normal situation in the school hall, but the invigilators are aware that you might get out a sandwich so that you can take your painkillers or whatever. So again, asking permission for things like that is always a good idea if it's something that you need. Some more concessions mainly based on sight. Things like large print text are available and even coloured overlays. So they've noticed that with certain, I think it's dyslexia as well, and certain other conditions, having a coloured overlay on top of the white paper helps people read it easier. So these are things to look into, especially if sight is an issue and trying to read print is an issue. But you don't necessarily want a reader, but you can have things like large print and coloured overlays, so that's always worth asking. You could also potentially receive a tape recorder, so your exam is recorded through voice if people aren't necessarily writing it down, or just know that tape recorders are available for certain different subjects and different varieties of examinations. I'm not entirely sure which specific ones, but I do know that in certain exams tape recorders are used by invigilators in certain cases. The last two I was actually offered at college, and I was really surprised by how lenient they could be and how much out of their way they would potentially go for me. And if I hadn't had this conversation with the disability director at my college, I wouldn't have even known this was a possibility. So the first one is having your exam at a specified time of day. So I always presumed if the exam starts at 8:30, it has to be done at 8:30. No ifs, no buts, no ands. However, it turns out in certain situations that can be changed. So you can, and it does have to go through a lot of checking and systems, so it will have to be put in place a long time before the exams. You cannot do this, for example, a month in advance. I'd make sure this is something that is in place. But yeah, a specific time of day. So we knew that I really struggled in the mornings. So she said, well, what if, for example, you take the same exam, but you do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? And I was completely mind blown. I didn't even realise this was a thing. So that is something that can massively help you out, especially if specific times of day, or you know, you take your medication at midday, so you're worse for a couple of hours, so maybe the morning is better for you. Just looking at the timetable of exams and seeing if you can have them at specific times of day or even on the same day is always really helpful. And then the major one, which I couldn't believe it, was something that is referred to as alternative test site. So this means in emergency situations, you can have your exam elsewhere. So in my case, I was told that if there was an emergency, one of the staff would take the exam with the invigilators, and I would be able to take it at home in an emergency rather than trying to get into college to take it. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that has got to be an emergency for that to happen, and there's guidelines for that. But that's something that I don't think many people are aware of. I did go to college in the UK, so that is something to bear in mind. Obviously, different countries, like I said, different areas, different states. But that is a major one that I don't think many people are aware of. So it's definitely worth asking about these things to see if it's a possibility for you to use any of them. I personally had a lot of issues. I felt guilty using the exam concessions because most of my education I hadn't used any of them, and so using them I felt guilty almost, and it was kind of a step to kind of accept, okay, there's nothing wrong with needing exam concessions and there's nothing wrong with needing help, and especially if it helps reduce anxiety around exams, it's definitely worth it, and definitely worth inquiring about what you can get in an exam situation. Thank you for watching again. I am going to be doing more different videos, but for now these are the only 2 videos that I am doing on education. So again, I hope something helped, and you know, you can go through exams and they're not so bad. I can't obviously take exams away, but hopefully they're a little easier for you to bear.